Hey, what is up guys? It is your boy Speed here, and today we're going to have a video where we talk about 5 mistakes that people commonly make when investing in Pokemon cards. Now, the market started to slow down. PSA sales and CGC sales have started to slow. The numbers are showing that. But I want to make sure people aren't panicking, and I also just want to give some general advice about what to do when investing in Pokemon cards. And I do want to give some clarity and some background to myself. I've been investing for about a year, so I am relatively new. So a lot of the advice that I'll be giving comes from other people and other sources and things I've learned along the way. So if you want to hear about it, stay tuned, and also subscribe to the channel. I post here every other day. At least I'm going to be doing that for the last 2 weeks. For everyone who's been loyal and watching my videos, first of all, thank you. And second of all, we will be going back to every other day, and you can hold me accountable on that. So that'll be happening. But nonetheless, we'll be looking at some sales just for fun. And then I have 5 points I want to go over. So as we get into that, I first off want to ask you guys and ask you a quick question that you can answer in the comments. What will you be doing when cards drop? Actually, let me rephrase that, okay? Let me rephrase that. If cards drop, if PSA cards and F-Seal products starts to drop, what is your plan? Are you going to sell stuff? Are you going to buy stuff? Do you even think it's going to drop at all? I want to hear what people's predictions are, because frankly, that's what it is. It's prediction. Do you think the market's going to go up or not or down or not is a prediction. And yeah, all right, let's get into it. My first point, I have a nice little list here. You can see, very official. My first point is having a collection of 10K cards worth of cards of 5K singles. So what I mean by this is a lot of the time people fall into the trap of having a singles only collection. Now, if that's what you enjoy, go do what you want, okay? The purpose of this video is to have a collection you can sell portions of, probably not all of, but sell portions of 5, 10, maybe 2 to 5 to 10 years down the line and make a bit of money, right? Hopefully, amp up your money. Because a really funny stat that I've heard a few times now is that collectibles, Pokemon in particular, heavily outperform the S&P, which is like the standard, it's the most basic way of investing in the American stock market. Collectibles destroyed it. It crushed it. However, there's ways to do collectibles wrong, where you won't crush the S&P, because number one, you won't be able to even sell your cards. You'll lose way too much money selling your cards, and this is the way to do it. You have 5,000 singles. So, you see this box here? I got a nice little box. You guys like boxes? Look at this box, okay? So in this box, if I can hold it up correctly, I have a ton of V cards. Now, every single one of these V cards, and there's a lot of them, every single one of these V cards is probably worth about $1, right? About $1. So maybe I have $50 in this box, something like that. The question you have to ask yourself, though, is, can I turn this into $50? How easy it is for me to turn that into $50? And the answer is brutally difficult. Brutally difficult. And so, even unless you have cards like Charizards, right? Singles like Charizards are higher value singles that people desire and you can easily list and are constantly being bought, such as a card like the Pokemon XY Evolutions Charizard. If you list this card, it's probably going to sell for about $10. Oh no, this one actually looks like it sold for $7. That actually is a bit of a drop. Actually, it had shipping, but still seems like a bit of a drop. The point I'm getting into, though, is that certain cards, right, are going to sell better than others. But those V cards I have, they're very miscellaneous V cards, right? It's like Dreadnought, and no hate to Dreadnought, by the way, but it's like Dreadnought double. And so just be careful about that, because then, let's say you want to sell your $10,000 collection down the line. You can do it. You could list it on eBay. It's just going to take you 3 years, probably longer, to sell the cards and then ship the cards and buy the supplies to ship the cards. And now you might be saying, why don't I just sell it all at the same time? Because if you try to sell low value cards in bulk, no one is going to pay you $5,000 or let's say $10,000 for $10,000 worth of singles. If all of the singles are worth like $2 to $5 to $10, no one's going to want it. because it's impossible to sell at a profit margin. And so at best, they'll pay you like 50%. I've heard, actually, no, I shouldn't say that. You might get lucky and find someone who might pay you 60, 70%, who's willing to put in the work to then make like 10, 15%. But even then, it's a brutally hard process. There's not a lot of people willing to do that, which is why there's money in flipping, right? Because if you are one of those people, you can make money in that regard. Just be careful about that. All right, next up is kind of pertaining to what I'm talking about right now, which is letting everything you read or hear govern your ever decision, right? Doubting your gut or the Pokemon brand. So the first thing I want to mention is kind of like a little story. It doesn't pertain to myself, but I just want to say, look back to people like SM Pratt or, King Pokemon. Any of these people. I mean, they're multi-millionaires now. Multi-millionaires. Easily. And it's just because they trusted their gut. Now, do I think you'll ever be able to make as much as they did in Pokemon as quickly as they did? I think it might take a while. I don't know, though. But, Pokemon exploded this year. What happened was unprecedented. So I don't think that is necessarily going to happen in again. But those guys could have easily doubted their gut. They could have went against what everyone was telling. Well, no, they did go against what everyone was telling them. Everyone probably in their lives was telling them that they were crazy. I mean, they were buying cards that, they would go up a little bit, right? But they're collectibles, and there wasn't that much demand, right? PSA 10s of certain rare cards weren't selling for more than $50 to $100. Like cards that today are selling for $1,000 or $2,000. People didn't really want them, and that's scary, right? That's scary because you always have to have this idea that in the back of your head they could drop to nothing, which they could, right? Collectibles are very risky in that regard. But if you have a card or set of cards or set of products you believe in and you think are cool and will perform well, I would just say stick to your gut, right? Stick to your gut. Like, as long as you, now that I say that, when I say stick to your gut if you have experience. If you don't know what you're doing, don't just start picking random cards. That's probably not a good idea. But stick to your gut. And then the second half to this, recently I've been feeling, as I've looked through comps and listened to different videos, there's been a few videos on YouTube now. One in particular was by, I'm forgetting their now, Graded Gem. Graded Gem, the two British guys, I think they're British. They made a video talking about like the drop in quantity of cards, and the thumbnail and title was like very extreme. Now, their video wasn't as extreme. It wasn't like thinking the market's going to crash or really saying that. But if you just were to look at the title and the thumbnail, you would think the market's about to explode. Literally explode. Crash. Worse than whatever it was. Whatever the Great Depression was. I forget the exact year. But you get the point. Just don't freak out. Because honestly, I've had a lot of bad emotions recently, like when it comes to investing. I'm sure you guys can resonate with this, where if you got in relatively recently and you have a good amount of money into it and you're like, okay, I don't want this to go down, I'm a little bit afraid of it going down, even if it's not the end of the world if it goes down for you, I don't know your situation, you've probably heard a lot of talk about the market crashing, probably read YouTube comments about PSA cards are going to collapse and they're going to be worth nothing, and it's the junk slime era. And while I get all the concerns, no one knows. No one knew that cards were gonna 80x over the last few months. Like certain cards literally like 100x or something like that. I mean, there were examples of that. I don't have them off the top of my head, but I know like level X cards might have like 50 to 100x to prime cards. And certain Charizard cards went insane. No one knew that was gonna happen, but then they'll continue to guess. Why? Because it's fun to guess. It's cool to guess. People like hearing guesses. It's more entertaining to guess. And the boring advice, the more consistent advice, is to hold long term. But just keep that in mind. The reality is you'll probably be alright. Don't doubt the Pokemon brand. I think the Pokemon brand is much stronger than people realize. Alright, let's get into our third point, which is being scared away by a potential drop. That's kind of what I just talked about. It's what I just went over. But I really do believe that there's going to be a lot of opportunity if there is a crash. That kind of is a thing. For instance, let's go back to, from what I heard about, even though I was, 8 at the time, 2007, 2008. Yeah, I was like 8 years old at the time. What I heard was that the housing market had crashed. It got destroyed. And that actually created an insane amount of opportunity. So in times of crashes, people get afraid and they leave. They panic. They don't want to get put in a position where they get caught and can't pay a bill and then have to sell at a low and they get destroyed, right? So they leave, they sell what they have, and they just tank the losses and they say it is what it is. But that's actually where a lot of opportunity comes into play. And I think a lot of you might know this, but if you don't, this is very important advice that I think a lot of people know nowadays, right? Now that information is so widely available. But I just think it's important to reinforce in my head. So I like making these videos literally for myself. You know, I like to reinforce what I think is important ideas within myself, but also why not share it with others? And yeah, like there might be a lot of potential. You know, think about all of the let's say, I'm just giving it as an example. I have nothing against sneakerheads, but all the sneakerheads who got into Pokemon, don't know anything about Pokemon, put a lot of money in, but now let's say Shining Fates, they bought ETBs for $70. All right, just as an example, they drop back to 50, and now they're selling them at 50, right? Even though I don't think that's exactly what's going to happen, that's just a hypothetical example. Something of the sort might happen, right? And if that happens, that might be where the most opportunity is, because then you can pick up those boxes at 50. No one's going to want them. You're not going to be able to sell them. But if you have the patience, 4 or 5 years down the line, similar to what people could do with houses in 2007, 2008, when the market rebounds, even though, you know, housing is probably much more likely to rebound than cardboard. You get the point, right? So I'm excited if that happens, which is why I don't really care what happens, and that's why you got to be careful with your money. You know, you can't put it all into the same spot. You got to diversify and have, you know, some money to be ready for something like that, right? Be ready so you don't have to sell. Like, for instance, if I turn around my webcam, right, I show you my Hidden Fates Elite Trainer boxes. They could drop back to 80. My Kanto boxes, they could have, right? Of course they could have. Evolution booster boxes are 1,000. Those things, I bought them at 30 something. They're like 170 or something like that. Actually, let's quickly look. They could have, and I could panic and be like, oh, you know what? I bought them for 30 bucks, 37, sorry, like 37 bucks. I'm just going to get out. You know, it's time to go. I've made my money. I shouldn't be greedy. And while I do think there is some wisdom in not being greedy, at the same time, you know, oh, okay, I have it on. Well, I think there's some wisdom in not being greedy. The thing is, like, diamond hands tends to work out. The people who made the most is the people who held the longest. And I'm sure there's examples of people who bought, sold, and made more than the people who just held. But you know how many people lost money buying, selling? That's the problem there. That's the problem. So, you know, if you're not in a place to rush, you're vibing. But all right, let's go to sold listings. And I'm curious what these are at right now. One sold for 200, but this is buy now. That makes no sense. It's really hard to tell. I would imagine they're more around this 150, 170 range still. Probably haven't moved much. Yeah. What is that, 175? Yeah. 175 for 2. So they seem to be still about that range. And yeah. So that's great. But all right, let's get into... Wait, is there... Oh, yeah, there's 2 more. So I'm going to go over these a bit quicker because I think they're actually about the same. But number 4 is rushing purchases. So this is a very quick point. I'll pull out the card very briefly, but it's very easy especially when things are doing well and you're really excited about a purchase, you think you found a card that's undervalued, or you really just want to pick up this card for your collection, that you can make a lot of mistakes. Now, if you guys have been around my channel, you know for a fact that I bought a Great Encounters PSA 10 Blaziken for $250. Right? And that might have been a ripoff for myself. I don't know. Maybe the card down the line will be worth much more than that. But for now, it's probably not. I haven't actually looked at the sold comps. I don't care. I'm not looking to sell it. But there's that card. But that's not what I'm looking for here today. What I'm looking for, I found it, is this card. Okay? This was a big learning lesson for me. And I want to make sure you guys take this as a learning lesson for yourself as well, so you don't have to make the mistake. This is a PSA 9 Fortress from Neo Discovery. First edition card. Great card. Love to have it. I think, you know, like all other vintage, over time, it will continue to perform well. However, I purchased that card for $90. That is a regular rare card, first edition 9 for $90. Now, you might be saying, Speed, that sounds a little bit high. That sounds a little high. Yeah, it is way too high. I thought it was hollow. I didn't even think through the fact that there was a non-hollow. I saw that it was a good deal, and the eBay seller probably knew what they were doing. Probably a smart guy. He's like, okay, I can trick people into buying my non-hollow when they're looking for hollows if I list it slightly under the hollow prices. Because at the time, I had made an offer for someone for like $100 for a hollow 9, and then I saw this one for 90. It looked legit. The card's hollow isn't that pronounced, and so I didn't really like pick up on it, and I just bought it now. The guy had good reviews, so I just bought it now. And yeah, so I'm down money on that. So be careful about that. Be careful about that. And just when you're, you know, if they have low eBay reviews, be careful. When you're doing bulk deals, try to make sure you can see the collection first. And then, sorry, this is actually supposed to be for the last point, but yeah, just don't rush into stuff. Funny enough, I was in California for a month not too long ago. I made a deal with a guy for like $1,000 worth of cards, ended up falling through, which I'm kind of glad about because I didn't really see the condition. I mean, he showed me the cards through like a really low quality camera. It was tragic. But at the time, the market was going crazy. I knew I could grade and make money. But, I mean, I really don't think it would have worked out if it went through, which is why I'm glad I trusted my gut at the time. I canceled the deal. But, you know, things could have went poorly, I believe, because I just didn't, I didn't know the condition, and I was just rushing into it because there was a couple of high-value cards. I'm like, there's potential. Just be careful, okay? Especially with a lot of people who are going to be panic selling if the market does start to drop a little bit. If that happens, then there's going to be a lot of people doing shady stuff, right? Trying to sell bulk deals and just trick you. So be very, very careful about your purchases in upcoming times. And then finally, last but not least, is selling yourself short when purchasing. Going back to the point about selling and how it's hard to buy 5K in singles, I think a lot of people are going to do that. And so if you do decide to buy very large collections or buy large inventories worth of product, make sure you're getting the good end of the stick. I think a lot of people, especially if it's their friends, while it is great to be nice to your friends, like literally I've had this happen where I've made good bonds with people in the Pokemon scene, and I've actually kind of like screwed myself over a little bit. Like just being real where, you know, not in some horrible way, but deals where, you know, you trust someone. Actually, I mean, there was a really bad example in particular where I really had a bad situation. I don't know if I'll ever talk about that, but I've had a couple examples where small things, couple hundred bucks, but like singles. Like I bought a singles, like $500 worth of singles for $450, and you know, it's $50 discount, but I was buying it through like friends and family PayPal. And while it's very friendly of me, and I don't mind helping people out, I didn't plan on keeping those cards for my collection. I was trying to make some money. Like, and I was selling myself short. I was trying to be too friendly. And while it's great to be a good person, and I always advocate for helping others. I think when you are nice to others, it will always come back to you, especially if you don't expect anything from them. You know, I really do believe in that. But at the same time, if it's on a consistent basis where you're doing this to yourself and, you know, you don't even know the person that well, right? It's just like some person you recently met. I mean, then I don't think it's worth it. And try to get good deals. Negotiate. Even on eBay, negotiate, right? Negotiate. Don't panic, okay? If you really need a card, it will come to you, right? Your time will come. But all right, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. I know it was more of just a discussion, but I hope you, I don't know, if there's anything you want to add, all right? If you think there's big mistakes that people make, or I even said something that you think is potentially wrong, leave it in the comment section down below. Yeah, I'm always happy to have kind of like a full table discussion. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.